All right, Jody. So after a slight delay on that, I found a little error in the KPI sheet. Fixed it. So here we go. Over here on the KPI sheet, and so the plumbing, basically call counts reading from the demand, reading from the department. Maintenance calls, tech staffing's reading from the department. This is reading from the revenue build up here, just to walk you through this. All right, so department C9. I'm over here to department on the plumbing side. Scroll on up to C9, which is right here. So 333. And where is this 333 coming from? It's coming from the annual demand calls, annual budgeted maintenance calls, and those are coming from the revenue build tab. But the seasonality here is a little bit different. I changed based off of our conversation. I didn't change it. I changed it because we talked about it. So you come over here to 10 on the department tab, and I set this up based off of call count now instead of revenue. With the thought process that the call count, the way I understood our conversation, the call count is really a better indicator of the number of technicians we're going to need instead of using a revenue, the peaks and valleys of revenue, because if you have a lot of demand, I know I'm talking HVAC here, but if you have a lot of maintenance, your revenue may not be as great in this, but you may have a lot of calls. So I'm doing this by call count now, and I'm going to ask them for the pre-work to send us the call count instead of the revenue count. Now, those members that don't have call count, then we'll just have them put in their revenue, and we'll do it like we've always done it. It'll seasonalize it out by revenue. But I'm going to try to steer everybody to get them into doing it by call count, because I think that'll give us a better seasonality of call count, which is more of a predictor of how many techs we're going to need. Okay? And then for system checks as well. So we'll have a seasonality for demand, and we'll have a seasonality for system checks. So that first one is reading from 10, and the second one's going to read from 25. So I'll go back over the the department tab. And this is reading from 10, and the maintenance calls are going to read from 25. And that's going to be true all the way down for all the service departments. It'll read from their service department 25 and then 10 up here for the demands. So that's been duplicated all the way down just to give you an idea of that. So 10 and then 25, for some reason there wasn't as many calls booked. Yeah, there's 120 versus 1,000 here. We're up here, we had 4,000 versus 1,000. Okay, so that's that piece. So we're able to now break it out by revenue from the service department. So you come back over here, remember the service department, how we broke that out. We got an average ticket here for a system check, an average call here for a demand. And I think I did that down the line here. Yeah, I kept this. No, I did it down the line here too. 600 and 250 for that. Okay. Now it'll also include the service agreement revenue over here on the department tabs. In this number right here, that'll have the total number. It'll have the K5 for revenue build, and so K5 for the revenue build, that's this. So that's going to be all of that. I'm sorry, that's an installation department. K5, still K5 up here. So it's got this revenue built into it as well, service agreement revenue. Now I gave them a place, and I think I talked about this in the other one, to land all their service agreements into one department, or if they wanted to, they could split them out. I'm going to coach them to run them all from one department so that we're looking at the number of agreements by department. And if they're going to have system checks, they can pull system checks from those service agreements. But some people may be just plumbing right now, or they may be just electrical. So I don't want to have them open up a HVAC service department to dump them in there. But if they have HVAC service in their business, I'm going to coach them to dump them all into one department, into this department here, into HVAC service, and just put zeros up here. Even though they may have another check for it, I'm open to discussion on that, but it kind of gets wrapped around the axle. But anyways, you haven't got an idea what I'm talking about, because that's going to show up in the demand call count anyway, or the maintenance call count here anyway. So back over here on KPIs. So we've got the conversion rate for demands, conversion rate or average sale for demands, monthly sales we should have, conversion rate for the system checks and average sale for the system checks, and the monthly revenue from the monthly sales from system check calls. Just want to get my nomenclature down all the way down, so there's no crazy talk with them. And I don't know if I did that all the way down. I did here, but I didn't do it up here. And I didn't do it there either. I'm a freaking idiot. Let me just do this. Copy. Well, I got you. Take a break. Go get some coffee. Let me just make this change. Go grab a beer. Drown your sorrows. Because you have to listen to me here. Sorry. Here we go. Almost there. All right. Start coming back. I'm about there. All right, you're back with me now. Okay, so I made that little quick change. Good. Hey, you can't have fun, don't do it. All right, so then we've got that. And then we've got down here on the HVAC side, this is the only department I did this on, is the agreements. Okay, so how many agreements they have. I didn't do it on all of them. So I just did this. So if they start with 2,000, they sell 75, they end up with 1975. They lost 100 service agreements. So I had a net gain of a negative 25 in that month. And then that 1925 comes over to the next month automatically. And then they populate it. And if they sold 100 here, and now that service agreement total jumped up to 2,050. Okay, they got a net gain of 75 that month. Okay, so now, and that just keeps rolling as they go through. Okay. Actually, I'm starting to understand this a little bit more as I'm doing it. Didn't quite understand it at all when the guys were showing it to me. But anyways, that's that. Let's see. That's pretty much it. Everything has this leads generation side to it, even the commercial side, and broken out between demand and maintenance. I don't know why the hell I'm using maintenance. Oh, this commercial, so that's probably better that I use maintenance there anyway. Okay. Except for this one, because this one doesn't have a department that supports an installation department. All these prior departments support the other installation department down below, and this one doesn't have one, so I just left out the tech leads because they're not going to be generating tech leads for something. So if they have a service department that doesn't really use maintenance agreements for whatever reason, they might want to just use this one to begin with, down here on 13. Okay, so that's that. There's 9 minutes you're never going to get back. Sorry about that. All right. So I've done, just to recap, I've done 3 tabs: the revenue, the department, now the KPIs. And I showed you a little bit about the seasonality, how I change these seasonalities. That just goes for every service department as we go down through there. I kept the installation departments the same. That'll be strictly on the revenue seasonality. I'm going to try to move us to call count. And if we can't get them to move to call count, we could just use those things for revenue up here. But I'd like to spread out the call count from demand and system checks. Okay, for the seasonality side of it, because I think it'll help us with head count on how many techs they're supposed to have in the department down here, right here. I think that'll give them a better idea based off of calls that we're asking them to run. It'll give them a better idea of how many techs they're actually going to need to run those 3 or whatever they put down there. Okay. Now, there's 10 minutes you're never going to get back.